think. So we're on Chaf Hey Amar Aleph at the 2 dots, about 12 lines down. Malva beribis. We said in the Mishnah, someone who lends out ribis is pasul as a dayan. Amar Rava, leva ribis pasul edis. Rava says someone who lends with ribis. We said in the Mishnah, we're talking about psulin. So the pasul both said to be a dayan and fedis. So Rava says someone who borrows with ribis is pasul edis. A borrower is also, it's just like it's also to lend with ribis. A person is also, he's not allowed to borrow with ribis. Our Mishnah says someone who lends with ribis. So where did Rava get that a loiva beribis is possible? That's not what the Mishnah said. So malva haba beribis. When it says malva, it doesn't mean the lender. It means a malva, a halva that comes together with ribis. It's talking about the loan. So loan that includes ribis makes the people who participate psulim. They're going to be whoever from either side, either party is going to be pasul, either the lender or the borrower. Bar benitus ashidu beit shrei sahadi. Two people said testimony about this bar benitus. Chad Omer kamididi oizef beribsa. One of the Edom said this bar benitus lent money with ribis in front of me. I saw him lending money with ribis, so he's the pasul leedis and pasul to be a dayan. The second one said, not only did I see him lend money, he lent it to me. Pasli Rava l'bar benisus. So Rava said, okay, we have 2 Edom who says that he lent with ribis. He's pasul. Rava is the mandam who said that someone who loiva beribis, someone who lends with ribis or borrows with ribis, someone who borrows with ribis is pasul edus. So therefore, this second aid who said that Barbanesis lent him money beribis, he himself was a pasul aid. You can't use a Russia to be an aid. So how could he be the one who pasuled Barbanesis by saying that he lent me money, but by saying that he lent you money, that means that you're a pasul aid, so we can't trust you. So Rav is l'shitasi that we had just a few blot ago. Adam karv eitz alatzmai. A person is considered a karv l'gab himself. When he says eitz about himself, a person cannot make himself a rasha. It means, this is back to the din of palgin and dibura, that we don't believe him about himself. We only believe him what he says about Barbanesis. Right? We had this a few blot that we can split what someone says. We said that what you say about yourself, you're not believed. You're a karv eitz alat. So a person is not neman about himself. You can never say eitz about yourself. You can't say I'm going to bring 2 aid and one of them is me and one of them is someone else that owes me money. You're a karv. So the same thing when you say something bad about yourself, you're not believed, but he is believed in the part that he said about Barbanesis, and therefore we have 2 Eidim, that the Barbanesis was a malva beribis. Ahu tavcha, there was a butcher, that he was selling treifas. He wasn't disposing of them, he was selling them to Yidden. Pasler of Nachman v'abrei. So if Nachman very understandably said you're a pasul for Edis and to be a dayan, and he kicked him out of his job. He said, we can't have people like you being sheikhtim. Also Rabbi Mazia v'tufrei. This sheikh went and he grew his fingernails and his hair long. Meaning he started entering the tshuva process. He said, I'm not doing, I'm going to sit in the corner, I'm not cutting my hair, I'm going to just think about all the bad things I've done, and I'm going to be a new person. So Rav Nachman la'achshure. So Rav Nachman said, he did tshuva, so he can make him sheikhet again. Amalei Rava Dilmei Rumi Kamarim. He said, but how do you know? Maybe this is all because he wants his job back. How do you know to trust him? Elamai takante. So what is this sheikhet supposed to do? How does he indicate that he's really a new person, that he's really reformed? Someone who is known that he's chashed on treifas, like this butcher that he sells treifas. The only way he can prove that he's genuinely changed if he moves someplace else where people are not even aware about what happened in the first town, so he could theoretically start a butcher shop and nobody's going to know about it. And if this person, while he's there, he does something above and beyond to show that he's lost his Yir Shamayim is greater than his Chemdas Hamamim. So if he returns Aveda, if he returns a lost object that's worth a lot of money that he could have just kept for himself, he found $1,000 in an envelope and he returns it to the person who lost it. Or if he has a cow, he has one of those tunas that they sell in Japan for $100,000, and it turns out it's a treifa or whatever. And there's no such thing as a treifa by a tuna, but you know what I'm saying. It wasn't really a tuna, it was a treifa fish. And even so, he he gives it up because it's not kosher. So he pays back. He does it with so he does something to show that he's not prioritizing money over Yira Shamayim. We're going to see examples on Amud Beis that when someone is already a chashid, he can't just be that he's in the same position that he was in before and he overcomes it. He has to go above and beyond. He has to really show that he's changed, that he has, because a person can't do tshuva unless he becomes a bigger person than he was originally. So he has to show that he's exceptionally Yarish Shamayim.
Why does he have to move?
So the moving, I think, was because as long as he's doing it in the same town, whatever he's doing, you could assume is just to get back his job. The other place, they don't even know about it. So he could, hang up a shingle and say, I'm becoming a butcher, and no one will know the difference. So only if we have a reason to believe he's not doing it just to get his job back.
So not because of a tirka of moving to another town, he has to go through.
I don't think so. But Rashi says about why he moved. Shemak Kunaisai, the tshuva, it's like 10 lines up. The tshuva, the hasam lava yerumi. It just says that when he moves somewhere there, it's not just intended to trick people into thinking he did tshuva. They don't know that he did anything wrong, so why would he do something to change their minds?
It's better marketing.
You mean to get because he wants people to come to him?
Customers, otherwise no place who's going to trust him.
I see you're not familiar with the kosher market. It's not going to marketing about how kosher you are. It's not going to get you more customers. It just has to do with how good your food is. Unfortunately.
So that means
Also you're living in today's day. You assume if you move 50 to 100 miles, eventually the word's going to get back. It took a week to travel 100 miles.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. So it's a tirka. You have to, sell your house, move your furniture.
Okay, yeah, listen. What could you do? I got to tell you the truth. There was a guy in Muncie who was selling non-kosher meat. I don't think anything he ever did would convince people to buy meat from him again.
Anywhere in the world right now.
Right. No matter what he did, I could hear that he did all kinds of tshuva. I said, listen, I'm happy to use you as my plumber. Yeah. Even that, not so much. I'm saying, you can't. It's hard to rebuild trust. Who said another person who's puzzled for edus and to be a dayan is someone who's mafricha yainim. He grows doves, pigeons. My mafricha yainim. What's the problem? Mafricha yainim. Hacha terguma tikami yainach liyayin. They learned it to mean if someone who races pigeons. Mafricha yainim is someone who is basically a gambler. He gambles on which pigeon is going to win. We're going to see later on that they fight. It's like cockfighting. He has the animals fight amongst each other. He says a different thing. He says that the issue with growing pigeons is that people they train their pigeon, they use their pigeon to catch other people's pigeons. They put it out there, and then the other pigeon is attracted, and they take someone else's pigeon. Suck them up. And according to the one that says it's racing or fighting, my time alama ara. Why didn't he say it's talking about we're using the pigeon to lure other pigeons? It says these doves or pigeons, they don't belong to someone. They're wild pigeons that people use. They would use, you've heard of this, homing pigeons, that they would use pigeons to send messages, but they're not really they don't belong to you. You're just making use of wild pigeons. So taking someone else's wild pigeon, it's darche shalom. It's not a good thing to do, but it's not geneva. So therefore, someone who does that, someone who grows pigeons, and then he does this, he's not a ganef. He's showing some level of chemda samamid, but he's not a ganef to passel. Manda ma'ara, the one who says because of he's using the pigeon to lure other pigeons. My time ela amar itak b'yayin. Why doesn't he say that they're racing pigeons? Amal chayna misachek b'kuvya. The Mishnah had said misachek b'kuvya, which is someone who plays with. Basically, we have dice, so he's in some kind of dice game. It's gambling. So there's also gambling. We said before was a question of what's the problem with gambling? Is it because asmachta? But what's the difference? Why do you have to give two examples of gambling, both playing with dice and racing pigeons? He wanted to give two examples of gambling. One is where by the dice, sometimes it's like poker. It has some level of strategy in it. So it's up to him. He could win. There's chance, but there's also skill as far as knowing what move to make. And Tana Taila B'das Yainai on a what you call it, a race, a chicken race or a pigeon race, a person thinks he can evaluate which one is likely to win. And the Gemara explains this. Tzricha. If we would just said the case of Mesachik B'Kovya, of the dice player, Hasam Doli Gamru Makni. Over there, he's not Esmach Doli Kanya. Even though he said he agreed to pay if he lost, he didn't really think he was going to lose. The Amar, I think I'm the greatest dice player in the world, and I'm going to win. But the one who does it by a pigeon, he races pigeons, he knows good and well that he has no control over what the pigeon's going to do. Pigeon could be in a bad mood today and then not fly straight. So therefore, when he says, I'm going to pay if I lose, he really doesn't know if he's going to win or lose. So therefore, he's going to makne. He doesn't, not that he believes he has the inside track to win. He's hoping, but he doesn't know. By the Yain, he says, they used to bang to make the pigeons fly faster. So if he doesn't, he figures, if I bang harder, I'm going to get it to win. So it's also my skill that's getting it to win. And I have a better ability to bang and cause it to go. He says Lagabe dice. Why does he think he's better than the next guy? It's not a physical skill; it's mental. So there's always someone who's smarter than you. So he's not sure he's going to win. Tzrichas. Therefore, you need both of them. Meisvim. Hamasach b'kuvya. Someone who plays with dice. Eloi hamasachim b'pasim. These are people who play with bones. You ever heard the expression "roll the bones"? So they took about dice means to call it rolling the bones. They used to make dice out of bones. So you made bones. They made the dice out of animal bones. Not just that; those types of dice. Amru remind him the peels of the shells of nuts and the peels of pomegranate. They would make a kind of dice out of it. How does a person show that he's reformed, that he's no longer someone who gambles? Well, if he's a dice gambler, when he breaks the actual dice, and he does a tshuva, even like on Purim, on Chanukah, he doesn't play. He doesn't play with dice. He doesn't call it kvitlach and say we'll play for chips. He can't even do it for fun. That's how he shows. So when someone's addicted, it's one quick step. Once you say, okay, let's play for fun, and then 5 minutes later he's in Atlantic City, remortgaging his house. So he said Malva Berebis, another person that is puzzle if he is someone who is a malva b'ribbis. Again, these are all things that show a person has a tremendous taiva for money. So he can't be trusted because he could be corrupted, he could be bribed. So malva b'ribbis, someone who lends a ribbis, echad malva v'echad aleiva, both the lender and the borrower. The emasai chazrasan. It's interesting that the person who borrows is also right, because it has to do with people who have a taivas hamama. Person who's paying interest, he's he's lifneiver, he's causing the other person to sin. But so it must be that we say that because he needs money so badly, he shouldn't be borrowing money beribis. That's also a taivas hamama. It's like people who open up credit cards that they can't pay back. You shouldn't be doing it, and if you do so, it shows a taivas hamama also. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things are it's not for doing aberis. It has to be something that specifically show you have a type of money. This guy's paying extra money. He's not going after money, but the loan itself is a type of samama, and which is very true. The emasai chazrasan, how do you show that you are reformed? Mishayikaru as shatrareyan. When he rips up the shtaris, that I guess this wouldn't apply to the borrower, but the lender rips up the shtar that says that he's owed ribbis. So instead of becoming milv b'shtar, he's a milv alpeh. V'yachzor ben chazar gemura, and he does a tshuva. How does he do tshuva? Afilu l'nachri lo musfi. He won't even lend to a guy. When you go to one side, you have to go all the way back to the other side, even though it's mutter to lend to a guy. But if this person wants to show that he's a tshuva and become kosher leidus, he has to remove himself entirely from lending. Mafricha yainim. We said someone who races, there were two pshatim, right? Either he races pigeons and bets on it, or he uses the pigeons or the doves to entice, to lure other people's doves to him, and he does it like a form of stealing, which we should just darkei shalom, but it's also taivas hamammon. Elu shememarin es hayonim. That means that they cause the yoinim, they cause them to do either to race, or they cause them to lure other animals. The yoinim elvad amru is not just for pigeons. Elafilu behema v'chayavayv, any a behema or a chay or a knife. The emisai chazrasan, and how do they do tshuva? Mishivishu es pigmeim. They break the sticks that they used to use to train the pigeons to either race or to lure other pigeons. They don't even do this when they're alone in the midbar, when there's no one, other animals to catch, or there's no one else to race against. They don't engage in that whole pursuit. We said those who do business on Shvius. Those are people who do business with Perish Shvius. How do they show tshuva? When the next Shvius comes, they don't engage in business with Shvius. So this is a little strange, right? Until now we said everything you have to go even beyond, not just not do what you did, but going beyond it. So it's not just that he says I'm not doing it, where he literally he gives away money. Kate said, where he takes the perish shvius and he gives it away literally to aniyim. He doesn't just let them go pick it up, but he goes and collects it and gives it to them. So that way he shows that he's not interested in perish shvius. But in any case, our original question was, what does mafricha yoinim mean? So we had the two pshatim. Either that means he races pigeons and it's gambling, or that he uses the pigeon to steal other people's pigeon. In fact, behema. One of the examples we said is that we said mafricha yoinim could even be a behema. So if you're talking about racing, you could have a race with a behema. You could have a horses racing. You could have your goats racing. All kinds of things. Who races? Elamanda ama ara. According to Manama, you use the animal to trap. Behema bas hachi. Is there a behema that you could use to trap wild behemoths? Behemoths are not wild. Behemoths are domesticated. So how are you using a domesticated animal to catch another domesticated animal? They're all, there's no, there aren't cows wandering around, l'chayra. There's no sheep. There's no loose sheep. Sheep are domesticated. So in Bishar Habar, there are wild, I guess we could, like buffalo and bison, the forms of cows that do run wild. According to the Mandam, who says that wild cows, wild bulls, the bison running the plains are a type of behemoth. The Tanan Sharabar min behemoth. Rabbi Yossi Yamim ben Chaya. It's a machlokes whether Sharabar, the wild oxen, are behemoths or chayas. So according to the Mandam, it's a behemoth. You can use one wild ox that you caught and you've domesticated to catch others. Tana. They added, in addition to the people that we listed in our Mishnah, the Mafricha Yoinim and the Mesachik Bekovia and the Seichre Shvius, we said in addition those who steal and those who are Chamsanim. Chamsanim is someone who forces someone to sell something for money. In fact, what are you saying? These are things that the Chachamim guys at that apostle. The Gazal Torah says, "Atashish yatcha im Rosh Aliyah Seid Chamas." Someone who steals is a apostle Adis. It's talking about as if a guy comes across a cotton, for example, or chayrish or a shaita, they found something in the street. A chayrish shaita of a cotton can't make a kinyan, so technically you're allowed to just take it from them, even after they found a diamond ring. You could just take the diamond ring from them. First, the reason why they thought that it's why they said why they have to be added. Why wasn't that originally part of the list? Is because it's not so common to find that a chereshaita can find something and someone takes it away. So there's no need to make a gzeira that someone who does that is possible. Or originally they said it's only mitnei darkei shalom. The reason why you can't take it from a chereshaita of a cotton is that we don't want a Wild West on the streets, that people just take things from someone who grabbed it, even if they're not technically kind of. But given the chazur, the seif and mainu, the kashakli paslenu. The Gemara says, but in the end, whether it's not common or whether it's something that only darkei shalom, the person who has the type of mentality that he's going to grab a mitzvah that a cotton found away from him is not someone you want to trust to be a dayan or an aid. They obviously, again, have that big chemdas hamaman that's making them do such a immoral thing, so therefore they passel them.
Cotton is koine, can be matna.
A cotton what?
Cotton can be koine, can be matna.
That's also midrabanan. A cotton could be kind of meaning he can go to the store and buy something. That's mekach umemka. You can't make a kinyan from hefka. It's only in this specific circumstance. If you remember, right, it was just they have to be able to go to the store and buy things. How they're going to take care of themselves. But other than that, they don't have the ability to make a kinyan. I think that's what I remember. HaChamson, and then we said the Chamson also they decided to passel them as well. In the beginning, they said, "Listen, a Chamson is someone who pays for what he takes. He's forcing the person to sell it, but it's not such a common thing, and he gives money, so it's not so bad." Kivan the Chaz with the Chatvi, but since they saw what the Chamson would do is they would just grab something and then they would, throw $1 to the guy after they took it. So it's much more like stealing. Gazu Rabbanan. The Chamu guys on them also that they have too much of a Chem Samam to be trusted. Tana, they also added to those who are apostle, shepherd, like we remember from Avram and Lot. The Lot went, Avram muzzled all his animals, but Lot didn't. It's a big problem, right? Roy they would graze their animals on other people's fields, and they would steal. And Hagabayin and a Muhsin are different types of tax collectors. Gabayin are people who pay the king for the right to collect all the taxes for the year, and the Muhsin are people who get a percentage. But these are people who subcontract to collect taxes. They volunteer to represent the IRS. Nobody likes people like that. Royim meikar savar kroi be'almo. By the Royim, the reason why they had to add on the Royim, these are all people that were added on after the Mishnah. They thought that it doesn't happen so much. Kivin the chazu, the kamachavnes, v'shadu l'chatchila, gazu b'huraban. the Royim, they saw it at the beginning, they thought the Royim just happened. Sometimes the sheep would wander off and eat in someone else's field. But eventually they saw that the Royim would literally taking them up on purpose and bringing it and eating from other people's wheat. So they said, they're not to be trusted. Hagabayim v'hamuchsin, the Gabayim and the Muchsin, the tax collectors, they thought that whatever the king gave them, they said, you can collect $10 per person, and that's all they collected. But since they found that once they were given the right to collect taxes, they would, make all kinds of extra, they would find ways of getting extra money and pay the king what they're supposed to pay to the king, and then keep the extra. So therefore, they passel him. Amarav, Roy Amru, this Roy that we said is passel, Echad Roy Behemadaka, Echad Roy Behemagasa. Doesn't make a difference if it's a small animal or a large animal. Generally, for this purpose, a Behemagasa is less of a problem. It doesn't run around, doesn't sneak into other people's fields as easily. They're more, they stay in one place. So no, is it true that Rava really holds like this? He says that they were more machmer in Eretz Yisrael, that you can't graze small animals in Eretz Yisrael. But in Chutz La'aretz there was no such gzeira. But a behema gasa, even Eretz Yisrael is kosher because it's not so likely that a behema gasa will go eat in someone else's field. So Gemara, who b'megadlam itma. Over there, it's talking about someone. It's not talking about a raya, a paid shepherd. Over there, it's talking about someone who. Over there, we're talking about a din of someone who's raising them. So the person who raises them, he keeps them on his own. He keeps them. He doesn't want someone else to steal them, so he keeps them on his own fields. But a shepherd is more of a chash. So there, even a behema gasa, it's taka. It could also be aser. He'll become a apostle if he's raya behema gasa. Hachanam mistabra. And there's also mistabra. The Mishnah had said that if someone is makabel on himself 3 roye baka, my love la'edus, is that not saying that they're kosher to edus? When the person was makabel on himself roye baka, it means he makabel them to be edus. So Gemara loy ladina. It's not. We're talking about edus. That over there, it's talking about being makabel them to be judges. So that's why it says a roye baka. Dekanami diktani shloisha roye baka. Says 3. If we're talking about edus, why would we say 3? You could even need 2. But the Gemara asks, so what are you talking about? So you're saying 3 judges? My ear is shloisha roye baka. Why did he say 3 shepherds? It could be 3 any people, anyone who's not a mumcha. So Gemara called nami hachikama. So you could have said any 3 that don't know halacha. Why did you say roye baka? By edus, you can understand because they're possible because their animals are grazing in the wrong place. But Lagabi din, where we're talking, you could say anyone who doesn't know din. It doesn't have to be bedavka roye baka. So it means to say even roye baka, not because they steal, but because they're unlettered. They're people who are not knowledgeable. Like we said, arkois to Surya, Lagabi dinim mamash. You can even get someone who doesn't know halacha, as long as he knows how commercial practices run, and he could be a mediator, he could be kosher. But these are people that don't know anything. Amri Yehuda, stam roya apostle, stam gabay kosher. Yehuda clarifies, we're talking about that a roya is apostle. He's saying it means stam roya, even before we know that he did anything, we assume that a roya is not careful about where he grazes. But a stam gabay, a tax collector, until we know that he does something, it's kosher. Taisus asks that we said that if we know that he did something, then it doesn't have to do that he's a gabay. We know that he did something illegal. The father of Zera was a gabay, a tax collector for 13 years. When the king or the person who collected the taxes came to the city, when he saw Rabbanan, he would quote the pasuk, "Go, my nation, into your hidden places." meaning he was encouraging them to hide. When he saw the regular people, not the Rabbanim, he said that the head of the king is coming to the town. But he quoted the pasuk that I don't know if it's a pasuk. The father is going to shech the son, and the son's going to shech the father. He said he was trying to tell him, he's going to come shecht you, he's going to take all your money in taxes. So he was giving him the heads up that in different ways to the Rabban. He said it in a more hidden way. I'm sorry, in a more open way, because they knew not to snitch on him. But the Amaretz, he said it in a more hidden way, a more coded way, so that they wouldn't, if someone overheard, they wouldn't snitch on him. Umignazu kuli alma. Therefore, everyone hid when the tax collector came. He would see, he thought it was a town of 1,000. It turns out it was only 500 people in the town. He would lower the taxes. Kiasa amalei miman navoy. And then when the tax collector came to Reb Zerah's father, he would say, "What do you want from me? I can't collect so much taxes. Not so many people living here. The census showed only 500 people." When he died, amalei shaklu tesem moi, take the 13 mois of money that Cyrili Bisadina that I tied into a handkerchief, and give it back to Pliny. I took from him the taxes and ended up, because people hid, that it wasn't ended up needing to be used, and he gets back his money. So Zerah's father, in spite of the general reputation of Gaboyim, we said before that it's only a stam Gabay is kosher, because you see that our Gaboyim were very erlich. He was a very erlich Gabay. Amr Shimon, in the beginning they called them gatherers of Shvius. Micah Amr, what is this saying? Amr Yehuda Hachikam. In the beginning they said those who gather Shvius are kosher, but those who do business are possible. Once people started hiring aniyim to collect the peirush Shvius for them, which is really engaging in business and then selling what they collected, and then they would bring it to them. It's so widespread doing business with Shvius that everyone is possible, even someone who we don't know that he's doing business, but we see him gathering, he's also possible. The Mishnah said, when the people who were oppressing the Yidden became more common, they started to call even the Seichei Shvius, even the Oisvei Shvius are awesome. And why are you saying from the people who are going after them? It's Mishurabu Atagim when there were more people doing business. What does that have to do with people being on to making life hard for them? Ella Mishurabu Atagim Bayalei. Ella Betchila Hayu Oimrim Echad Zev Echad Zeb Psulim. At the beginning they said whether someone gathers or whether someone engages in business, they're puzzled. Mishurabu Anasim, when the Anasim, meaning the leaders, the kings or the lords, would impose extra taxes on them. They would say everyone has to pay a property tax just for owning the property. Then it became mutter to sell peirush shvius. Go and plant shvius to pay the arnuna, because otherwise the goyim would seize the property. They would make a tax lien on it, and they would take away the property. And it's very frowned upon to lose land of Eretz Yisrael. And therefore the Chachamim were guys that you could go ahead and do business with peirush shvius. At that point they said if someone's oisif, maybe he's doing it for arnuna, but the Seichrim, people who see they're doing actual business, are possible. Rav Chia bar Zanuki, Rav Shimon ben Yoitzadik, Havaga'azli la'aver shana ba'asya. They were going to do Iber Shana in Asya. Pagabu Reish Galusa. They came across Rav Elusha, Reish Lakish, Itvil Bahadayu. Reish Lakish joined them. Ama Ezel Ichzi Hechi Avdi Ovda. Let me see how they do the Iber HaChodesh. Reish Lakish came to see. Chazil Hu Gavra, they could carve. As they were going, they passed a man who was plowing, and it was Shemitah. Amal and Kayin B'Chayrish. He so Reish Lakish said, "Look, this guy is a Kayin. We're going to see soon that a Kayin is chashed on Shvius. Kahanim think since they're allowed to eat truma and they're allowed to eat they're allowed to eat kachim, so they think Shvius is also mutter to them. So Kahanim are choshed on Shvius, and it's not true. So he said, look, must be a Kayan, one of these bad Kahanim that's plowing on Shvius. Maybe he's a pay that really belongs to a guy, and he's working for a guy. They saw another person who was pruning in a vineyard. It's a kayin. Yishlaka said, "Look, it's a kayin who's being over on Shvius. He's pruning." No, he's not pruning. He's just taking the vines to make a net to help with his olive press. Amalan halevi yadeim laakalim laakalkalot laaklas. The heart knows. Yishlaka said, "We know good and well. You're trying to come up with terutzim. Is he really laakal to use it for the beis habarim? Is he being mekalkal? Is he really doing it because he wants to work on Shvius? Which one did Rish Lakish? Which story happened first? If it's really in the order that we said, that first he saw someone plowing and then the other one working in the vineyard. If once you gave the answer of that he was working for a guy, you could have said that in the second case also. Really, the case of the Karam came first, and he said he was working the base about. Then they came up with the eights of that they were working for a guy. And why did they say Kayin? Because a Kayin, like we said, it's Chashish Shvius. He thinks everything's mutter to him. He could eat truma. He could also eat Shvius. He could also work on Shvius. Such truma shenafel lemeisa shel Shvius. Okay, you know what? We'll leave this case. This is a bittul. So we'll need a little explanation. We'll do it tomorrow when we're fresh. Bez Hashem.